Hello, it's Kenny here, and I just wanted to take a moment of your time to talk about the great things going on in the polytunnel. As you know, as you've been following us, it's only been a few weeks since we've started sowing, and at the moment we're predominantly looking at a lot of our flowers, especially for cut flowers. And I wanted to show you here our Compost. Now, this only went in about a week and a half ago, and it germinated in about 3 days, which is incredibly quick, which shows the mild climate that we have here in the southwest. And as you can see here, what we've done is we've put a couple of seeds in each cell tray, and that's sort of how I always try and approach it, because you're never sure if everything will always germinate. And we will allow these to grow up to about 3 trusses, so that's about where you get the true leaves comes out from the stem. And then we'll pinch the tops out, and that enables us to create a much bushier plant. And then once the roots sort of fully form within the cell, we'll pot those onto sort of a 1 litre pot, and that will be ready then to go into the garden or go on to sale. So with the arrival of the spring equinox, it's a great time to start some of your herbs and other sort of early vegetables. Now, we have protected growing structures such as the polytunnel, so we're growing a lot of herbs and sort of much earlier. And a great herb that everyone loves to grow and loves to eat on their pizzas is the humble basil. Now, basil is really super easy to grow, but lots of people make a big mistake with it. Basil does not like being sown too deep. So if you can see here, we've just got a few little green shoots coming up here on the top. So how we tend to sow basil is create your little cell tray. Now, try to avoid just putting 1 seed in. I sort of sprinkled, I suppose, 5 or 6 into each little sort of plug and grow these on. And you sow them on the surface in a very fine layer of soil, or you could use something like vermiculite or perlite, and this is to stop them being too wet. You want a little bit of moisture, but the thing is with basil, if it's too deep, too wet, it will just rot. And these were only sown the other day, and as you can see, they're all coming up and super easy. So after just discussing about the basil that we're growing, I wanted to move on very quickly to the lettuce. Now, this is again, I approach sowing lettuce in a similar way to like I do with basil, and I wanted to show you an example here. So I divided this sowing tray into half. So one side I sowed the seed quite deep and the other quite shallow, and as you can see, we've got a very rapid germination. And this is the thing with lettuce, like basil, it likes to be sown to the surface and not kept really wet. So sow your seed, a very fine layer of compost or some vermiculite, and water it in, put it in a warm location, and you'll have lettuce growing very quickly. So within the market garden, we're going to grow a riot of cut flowers, and nothing better than the humble sweet pea. A really easy plant, something I have to admit that in years gone by I have struggled with. I don't know why, us gardeners always have something that seems to evade us. But we're having a real success here, and as you can see, they are germinating and coming up. And my advice for growing sweet peas is always put a few seeds in a pot, and you want a pot that's got a slightly longer base to it. This enables the roots to really spread. One thing with sweet peas is they are very rooty in their early stages, and then when placing them out into the ground, it's always good to dig a little bit of manure into your space and plant them in clumps, and you get a much better sort of sweet pea from that. But remember, when you get to again about 4 trusses, is to pinch those tops out, and you'll get a much bushier, much more floral sweet pea. Compost, that necessity of every garden, market garden, greenhouse, and any growing project. It's crucial, it's fundamental, but we don't know a lot about it. You know, you go to your local shop, garden centre, and you pick up a bag of compost. And for years, most compost has been made from peat. And for those of you that don't know about peat, peat comes from peat bogs. Throughout a lot of Ireland, a few parts of the UK and the Baltics, peat forms at a rate of about 2 millimetres a year. So you can imagine that harvesting this material is detrimental to the planet and one of the biggest contributors to climate change. We shouldn't be using it. And the one thing I would say is transition now. There's some fantastic composts out there, such as this Melcourt peat-free and Dalefoot. They are slightly more expensive, but they're fantastic. They go a lot further, they do a lot more, and they're helping the planet.